Welcome to the Heal, Thrive, Dream podcast, where trauma survivors become healthy thrivers. Each month, we'll feature a theme in the trauma recovery and empowerment field. To promote your recovery, healing, and learning how to build dreams, here's your host, Karen Robinson, transformational coach and therapist.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Heal, Thrive, Dream podcast. Today, our guest is Sunitha Sandy. Sunitha is a TEDx speaker and trauma-informed transformative coach, helping high-achieving and high-functioning women break free from their inner struggles of anxiety, overwhelm, burnout, fear to reach higher professional success with deep personal fulfillment. She is also a certified meditation mindfulness teacher, positive psychology practitioner, trauma support specialist, spiritual coach, and integrative wellness inner transformation coach. Sunitha, thank you for being here today.
Thank you so much, Karen, for having me here. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to talk to you.
Thank you. What in your bio would you like to add to? I know I just read a snippet. What else would you like to share with our audience about what you do?
Yeah, so mostly I think from a professional or from what I do, I think you already mentioned, but I think more a little bit on the way my journey has been to be here. I think that's probably something we can get more into the detail, and especially since I come from a trauma background, that's the topic of deep interest for me, and how we can go deeper into the somatic healing and all other aspects. And I'm sure many women hearing this or watching this will surely be able to connect to it.
Right. So as we mentioned before the women that listen to my show tend to be survivors of childhood abuse, sexual assault, domestic violence, and then there's many other traumas that they could be victims of, including major accidents, natural disasters, very toxic relationships, including in the work environment. And you have a trauma too that's not related to childhood. What about that trauma are you willing to share with us today?
Yeah, so I speak about this in my TEDx talk. It's about an accidental medical error that happened during my surgery. And I was told that the left arm below my elbow had no movements or feelings or sensations, and the chance of recovery was very minimal. And I was told, and I was told this when I was 26 years old, and my background came from a very high performing, corporate leadership background, and I was this high achiever growing up as a kid, and I was a perfectionist. And suddenly for me to land in this area of not knowing what's going to happen in my life, so the fears started kicking in, and it just felt like the moment when the doctor delivered that, we're sorry, we can't do anything about it. It was a nerve damage that happened. We can't do anything about it, and I don't know what's going to happen. And I think the fear of unknown was the biggest for me, because till this time, I always thought that I had my life under control. I could do things I could take my life the way it needed to go. And then when I landed in this spot wherein I realized I was not in control of my life, and the rest of my life is going to be about how my attitude or how my inner world is going to respond to what things happen on the outside world. And I think that was my biggest journey along this whole trauma. And one thing that I also want to add, or what I'm spreading, is trauma is a very subjective experience. The same trauma that might have happened for somebody, they could have recovered without any issues. But for some, even small thing, we usually talk about trauma as like some big real thing that has happened, but it could be any small thing, like an emotional neglect that happened growing up as a child, or even somebody not recognizing or even appreciating you all the time for everything that you did, can all result in these kind of emotional suppressions. And if we didn't know how to process that, a trauma kicks in. And for me, that became the starting point, that became the catalyst for me to start moving in a completely different direction. And I also had a lot of PTSD symptoms that came with it. And whenever I think we go through a trauma, our body contracts. It's less about the mental or the emotional aspect. It's more sitting in our trauma. There is contraction in the body. For me, this started showing up in a lot of symptoms of fibromyalgia, body pain, chronic pain, severe insomnia. And there was always a fear that if I just let go and relax, something is going to happen. And then my nervous system never wanted to relax. So for me, the whole journey was, first of all, to relax my nervous system, relax my body. And from that place, I think the message that I would like to give is that we can actually thrive with the trauma that we experienced. And trauma can be a catalyst for awakening our inner peak potential.
Yeah, you mentioned calming, learning how to calm yourself. What techniques and coping skills did you use that helped you do that?
Yeah, I use technique called as the deep somatic healing. And of course, I come from deep spiritual background too. So I've been trained, I've worked with my teachers who are in Zen, Buddhist, and Advaita traditions on one side. And on the Western methodologies, I'm a positive psychology practitioner along with being a trauma support specialist. So for me, both of these aspects were extremely needed, and they had to be interleaved to get into the trauma and then heal the trauma. I used a practice called the inquiry-based modality, wherein it's sitting with myself and then a lot of self-reflection. Many a times what happens for us as trauma survivors is we don't want to go back to the same situation. And even things like, be here now, just be present now, just be here now can sometimes work against us, because we can't be here now unless and until we be there then, and then release the then into the now. And I think this is the most important message that I would like to give is somewhere we have lost the ability to realize what is reality versus what is imagination once we hit a trauma. Many trauma survivors go through this, and it's a very controlled and a very compassionate and very present journey with a lot of presence, that we start looking into those compressed or stuck parts within our body. And then with a lot of attention and a love and presence, you start melting those. And there's a lot of integration that happens between you as a whole and those parts that are stuck. So usually what I talk about is first you need to learn how to ground yourself, and grounding comes with awareness, going a little bit deeper to understanding who we are at the level of consciousness, because that will ground you into a kind of presence. The presence can look at now, the presence can look at your future, the presence can look at your past. So once you start grounding yourself more and more with a lot of, for me, what helped is a lot of meditation practices, a lot of body scan meditations, especially for trauma survivors. I think body scan meditation is an amazing one, just to ground ourselves in presence. Then what I do is I energize the body, because what I observed in both treating myself and treating many of my clients is the trauma parts are frozen. We need to somehow energize our body to thaw it. And I use the word like thaw. I don't want to mean it like a meat thawing or anything like that. But I think typically from a very expressiveness or expression that I can give is it's literally frozen. And the more you start energizing our body, which through the presence, we start looking at our body, start feeling our body, we start letting all the emotions and thoughts go through our body without trying to resist from them or so. And then what happens is slowly they start waking up. And then, and during that phase, it just feels like it's more overwhelming for the body to deal with all of those things. But then if you don't, it's like, it's just getting suppressed. And then even a small trigger can blow everything off one day.
Right.
Right? So the second part is about thawing this, and then getting them to little bit loosen up. And now the consciousness, now the energy starts flowing into these. Then what happens is there is a trigger that comes in. Oh, this trigger. And then with more groundingness, and because of the thawing, the trigger literally comes to the surface. And then is when I use a lot of inquiry-based practices to go within. And there's a lot of questioning and intuitive based questioning, which can go into such deeper layers that the person doesn't even know that they have actually repressed an emotion, because this is beyond suppression. It's completely repressed. They don't even know that it's existing. And then bringing that to the surface layer and looking at through your presence and integrating the different fragments that we have within our body, and then transmuting that into presence. So the process, I call it as transmutation. And this happens at a somatic level, not at a mental level or an emotional level. It literally happens at the somatic level. It literally happens at the energetic level. And I think once the person kind of gains this, like, oh, I think I can, the person can themselves start digging deep into themselves, and then start releasing even more. And then without any reason, like people come and tell me, it's like, I was surprised that the same trigger didn't like do anything to me after I went through this. And I don't know what I did, because it's very difficult to even understand what happened when you start releasing those, because it happens at the body level. And then slowly our nervous system feels that it's safe to relax. And then it relaxes, it again contracts, it relaxes, and one day it slowly feels, yes, I can relax most of the time, and when it needed, I can still contract. So it'll contract only when it is really in emergency, in a situation that it needs to do, but still its natural way is more relaxing. And that's the process I use, Karin.
I love the passion that you have to describing that process. It's very beautiful and also extremely hopeful, especially for people that, have emotional and physical pain like fibromyalgia. I can imagine that's like such a gift for people to work with you and thawing out those stuck points or frozen points.
Frozen points, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm noticing in your bio too, and I'm curious, it's a little bit not a really good segue, but I noticed that you have been in many pageants and have been a winner in my area. So tell us, I'm in Virginia, Northern Virginia, Alexandria. Where do you live?
I live in Northern Virginia too, and this was a
way.
Yeah, and this was a pageant that happened for the Indian community. And then, of course, all the winners from each of the state we represented in the national level too. So I was the Mrs. India, Virginia, DC, and Maryland for, I think, 2021. That's so nice that you observed.
Very cool. Yeah, and that you also sing. Did you sing as your talent?
As my talent, yes. I'm a singer. I also do some performances as a singer. So yeah.
Very, very nice. So you have a very well-rounded life, because you're also a mom and a wife.
Mom and a wife, and I'm also doing my corporate. I'm a corporate technical leader too, and then I'm also an entrepreneur. And the reason I usually write this in my bio is, of course, people do connect from all of those different fields, but I think all of these happened after my trauma. And I think
that's why it's important to know.
Yeah, that's why it's important. And that's why I usually put it there. Of course, I was always a corporate leader even before, but, something getting into a pageant wherein, being a mom of 2 kids, you go through a lot of changes in your body. And now it's for the body. You need to go and represent yourself. You need to carry yourself in a different way. You need to be able to answer questions on the fly that they ask you in a pageant. And for me, before, I was always contracted. But the more and more the trauma healing is so important, that because we go to the deeper layers of healing, the surface level fears automatically start evaporating. And I think this is why I usually say that as a trauma survivor, we are given an opportunity. We are blessed and given an opportunity, because once we understand how to heal our trauma, our life just changes in all areas of life. It just changes because we have the capacity to go to the most deepest stuck layer in our body. Because what I see is mindset is all about, okay, take this perspective, instead of this perspective, use this perspective. That's more about the mindset. It's more at the mental level, or it's emotional intelligence. But then trauma healing is at the somatic layer. What more in depth can you go than to be embodied in your presence? And from that embodiment comes intuitive knowledge, trusting our gut, which for me is the deepest level that we as humans can experience, like we as soul can experience a human life. So for me, I think that is the message that I'm really passionate about giving to people, Karen. Like, once you get the trauma healing going, you'll be surprised how much you were holding on, like something stuck. And then when that releases, you feel like, oh my God, there's so much to do. There's so much freedom. There's so much to life. And then we literally, it can act as a catalyst to wake up that potential that's literally hidden within each one of us. And especially for women, because I really feel that creative potential, we naturally come with that creative potential.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think what you said about the intuition is huge. I personally believe that's our higher power, whoever we refer to as God or higher power in the universe, directing us, like telling us. Sometimes it's subtle and sometimes it's really loud, right? But it always pays to listen to it.
Yeah.
For people who are listening that don't understand what the word embodiment means, could you share a little more about that?
Yeah, embodiment. This usually comes from an energetic and more from a spiritual background for me. Understanding who we are at the deepest level, and it can happen at multiple levels. It can happen more at the level of identity, that I can embody myself as a mother, or I can identify myself as an entrepreneur or a business person. And then the second layer is embodying my values. Okay, what do I value the most? What do I like doing the most? What do I love doing the most? That's where usually we see like the purpose and calling and so on. Even deeper layers to that embodiment is more on how does a soul, or how does the spirit, or how does our consciousness express itself beyond the identities and even beyond values. The deepest level of acceptance. Women are naturally accepting. We are. That's our true feminine potential that is there. We are very like tenderness, openness, willingness, compassion, love, surrendering, vulnerability. These are just like just before we hit the consciousness or the God or awareness or whatever we want to call it as, which literally doesn't have a name, but there is one level of expression that we can tap into. Are these layers, and this is where I call it as the feminine peak potential. And women can naturally access these. We are more attuned, but what I keep seeing is that we get into this masculine energy, the doing energy. I need to do this. I need to do this, and then we embody more of the masculine energy. So embodiment is a way that it's literally, it's a kind of being, and it's very difficult for me to express. So you literally be the love. So your life, instead of saying, I'm going to do what I love, becomes, I'm going to love everything I do. I'm going to, instead of saying that, I need to change my relationship with my spouse or my kids or so, it is more about what's the relationship I have within my own self, with my own consciousness. So there is a shift that happens from the masculine, which is all about, I need to do this, versus what happens if I just embody my deeper level of feminine potential? What does it mean to embody acceptance? Not just here or at the emotional level, in the somatic level. And the body doesn't do it unless and until it is relaxed. And that's why trauma healing is so important. And once this happens, for me, embodiment is again not something that we can force ourselves to do, because I see a lot of teachings that says, oh, learn to forgive, learn to do this. But then when women come to me, they say, I just can't forgive. I
It's
just
so
can't
hard.
practice gratitude. I just can't do it. And why can't they? Or even it could be on the other side that I know I have a desire to do this, but I just can't. Something feels stuck. And it all comes down to what is the beingness that we are embodying. And if we can learn how to embody the the energetic feeling of what compassion looks like, very intelligent compassion, because usually when we think compassion, we always feel that, oh, we just need to be good to everybody, we just need to be kind to everybody. But compassion can be fierce too. The grace can be fierce too. It may not even look like what we conceptually think compassion is. So those deep levels of compassion, for me, I think comes from our innate intelligence, what you call it as God, what you call it as consciousness, which you can just feel, but you can't express anything about it. You know it's there. And I think once we start hitting to those deep layers is when intuitively we trust that there is a deeper intelligence within us, not somewhere like, managing, do this, but it's actually within us. And we tap into that. And then life becomes a little bit effortless. It's not about the ego and the willpower that is trying to do, but it's more about the big self and the willingness to do things. And I think that's, for me, is the shift in embodying from masculine to more feminine being.
Beautiful. Very beautiful. Yeah. So when you work with clients, do you have courses for them? Is it coaching programs? Is it one-to-one group? Tell us more on how you help women.
Yeah. So currently I'm doing a one-on-one program. It's a 3-month one-on-one journey that I do with them. I handhold them in this because what I've seen is women really, I think because my program is more inquiry based, I think asking the right questions in the coaching is the most important thing to just elicit those deep hidden repressed emotions. So I work with them for 3 months, and then I take them from whatever issues that they're having, usually deep held traumas, manifest as anxiety, depression, burnout, stress, just overwhelm, and just there is always confusion. I don't know what the feeling of stuck. And in deeper cases, it manifests as incompleteness and unsatisfaction. No matter what I have in the outer world, I just feel unsatisfied within. Yeah, so I work with them, take them to a place wherein all of these things are cleared as much, and a neutral place is given from which I work with them to identify what is the true yearning in life. What is it that they want to do being in this body? So we start accessing the desire from the soul level rather than mostly mental level or conditioned level. And from there, I take them through a conscious living journey. How do you express the soul or the spirit or the energy or the conscious that we are into our daily practical contemporary life of a woman, whether she's a corporate professional, whether there's a business entrepreneur, or whether she's a mother, or whether she's a wife, or a daughter taking care of her old parents, or community, or friends. So it's a conscious living that I try to get them into more. And then they become their own masters. For me, the success of my program is how can you point, or how can you find the answers within yourself? Because I don't provide any answers. I don't know. But then I know how to ask the right questions, and then I take them through that journey so that they trust themselves more and more and more. And then by the end of 3 or 4 months that they work with me, they are independent to go and deal with their life. And that's what I do.
Sounds really empowering and beautiful.
Thank you, Corinne.
Yeah, I appreciate the work that you're doing.
Thank you.
Yeah. So one of the questions I like to ask guests is, I am a big book nerd. I love reading, and I find that my guests have usually wonderful recommendations. So are there favorite books that inspired you in your healing journey? And if there's not, it's okay.
Yeah, no, many, and I've also taken a lot of courses. For me, as from coming from a trauma background, Dr. Peter Levine's, I forgot the name, trauma healing, or Peter Levine, his name. The body keeps the score.
That's
I forgot the name.
The body keeps the Bessel van der Kolk.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. The body keeps the score. That's more on the body and the somatic healing side. And then Michael Singer's books, The Untethered Soul, Surrender Experiment. And Michael Singer also has a wonderful course online on the journey of surrendering and what exactly surrender means. Because surrender is a very important part of the trauma healing journey for integration. And then from Zen tradition book, The Beginner's Mind, and also for somebody who has gone through some kind of an awakening, if sometimes trauma also results in an awakening journey, for them, The End of Your Inner World by Adyashanti.
The End of Your Inner World?
Yeah.
That's the only one.
The End of Your World or End of Your Inner World, something like that. End of Your World by Adyashanti. And of course, Eckhart Tolle, anytime, it's like, I think that's like the 101, probably The Power of Now.
Yeah, that's a common one too.
Yeah.
So with Dr. Peter Levine, you don't remember which book was your favorite?
I can send that to you. Yeah, I don't.
Waken the Tiger is one of them. I can't remember the list
he's
either.
written multiple. I've literally read all of his books, but I'm not getting the title. One was just about healing trauma, and then the same book got renamed. The title changed. So I think any book of Dr. Peter Levine, and he also has a course online wherein he takes you through slow journey about how he handles his people who come to him and real life examples. That also helped a lot.
Very nice. Okay. All right. So any of our listeners out there that are really kind of struggling, like they just don't know what to do next, any special words of wisdom for them today?
Yeah. First thing is to welcome the situation that you are in. And I think it's the most difficult thing for you to do, for anybody to do, if you're listening to this. It's in a way that accepting the situation you are in, and as soon as you accept, something opens up within you and you will kind of start knowing the next steps. And trauma survivors, sometimes it's very difficult to do things on your own. It's very important for you to have a very safe place wherein you can release some of these stuck energies, your frozen parts, your unintegrated parts. So I usually advise for trauma survivors to work with somebody who's gone through trauma, or who has had the experience of what it is to have gone through a trauma and releasing the trauma and thriving because of the trauma. And it's, at least for some few months or so, or few weeks, it's always advised to work with somebody just so that they feel a little bit safe. And then from then on, their life will change. So yeah, I think that's the number one advice, because that is what literally helped me, rather than doing things on my own.
Yeah. If you don't feel safe, it's hard to do any other work. So building on that is huge. Yeah. Okay, so anyone that wants to learn more about you, I believe you also have a gift for people. Maybe you could explain what the gift is and how they can claim it, or how they can reach you to work with you.
Yes, my website is www.sunithasandeep.com. And once you go there, you have a free ebook that I've written that talks a little bit about my journey and how I came out on the other side of this tunnel, and how you can too. And it also has a way how you can reach out to me and probably a few other people who have worked with me, their testimonials on that. And then I also have a free masterclass, and the ebook is free. There is also a masterclass that I have put together for women who are 35 or 40 plus, and who are professionals or mothers or so, who have been having a lot of these anxiety, burnout, overwhelm, ambiguity, confusion, and then when they feel stuck that they can't take their next level, how I take them through a process. I teach a process called as the AWAKE, AWAKE, and it's an acronym for 5 different shifts that I take them through. So a lot is explained as to how this is my signature program, and it's a beautiful program that interleaves both Eastern methodologies and Western methodologies and combines them for a contemporary women. So it's a free masterclass that you can go and watch. And if you would like to work with me, there is again a link in those masterclasses and ebook where you can book a call with me and then see if this is something that is a good fit for both of us to work together.
What beautiful gifts that you're sharing with people. We really appreciate that.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Karen.
Okay. Well, thank you for being a guest with us today.
Thank you. Wonderful. Thank you for giving me the opportunity, Karen. And I think whatever you're doing is amazing. Just getting these words out there to people, just knowing that it's okay that they went through something and giving them a ray of hope for their life ahead. I really appreciate what you're doing. And thank you.
Thank you too.
Thank you for listening in today. Please join us next week, same day and time. Also, I would love for you to check out my website, healthrivedream.com.